Good evening and welcome to 𝗏𝗏 and 𝗑𝗏𝗏𝗏s. Uh, those on 𝗑𝗏𝗏𝗏s and 𝗏𝗏, this is a joint broadcast, and we're going to talk about the likelihood of Israel's strike on Iranian nukes. Why are we talking of this? The world is talking fully about trade wars and in between, China and USA and other things are happening. But in the Iranian corner of the world, this is live. Okay. And a lot of things are happening. 2 weeks back, I said, will US attack Iran? That has not happened. Talks have happened. Last week, the Iranian foreign minister and the special envoy to US special envoy to the Middle East, Steve Witkoff, they met in Oman. They didn't meet directly, they met indirectly with the Omanian foreign minister as the go-between. Both of them were sitting in different rooms. This chap went, spoke there, came back, spoke, and it was a very funny kind of a discussion. At the end of that meet, they met and exchanged a few pleasantries, and that was it. They're going to meet tomorrow, day after. But in between, when the earlier talk was all about, US attacking Iran. But now suddenly in the past 2 weeks, the Israel factor has come in. So Israel says, I will attack Iran and shot their complete, nukes out. So I said, look, let's discuss it. But before we discuss all this, I think let's get to some, basic factors. Where Iran is. What's the current state of Iran? What is the history of this nuclear deal which everyone is aiming for? Will it help? Not help? What are the contours of this deal? We'll go into some background and then see whether Iran will attack, Israel will attack, or USA will attack. Even if US attack on it is not out. So we'll go through a bit of a structured presentation on Iran, and then I'll discuss the issues and take you through the whole thing. Yeah. See, like I've said earlier, Iran's nuclear capability is not a matter of if, but when. It's just there. The next thing is, I'm going to show you a clip of Trump. Trump was asked a question yesterday about Iran, and this is what his, response was.
And they say the attack is what?
That you waived off Israeli plan to attack Iranian.
I wouldn't say waved off. I'm not in a rush to do it because I think that Iran has a chance to have a great country and to live happily without death. And I'd like to see that. That's my first option. If there's a second option, I think it would be very bad for Iran. And I think Iran is wanting to talk. I hope they're wanting to talk. It's going to be very good for them if they do. And I'd like to see Iran thrive in the future, do fantastically well. I know the Iranian people, they're incredible people. Always have been very smart, very energetic, very successful people. And I don't want to do anything that's going to hurt anybody. I really don't. But Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. It's, pretty simple. It's really simple. We're not looking to take their industry. We're not looking to take their land. All we're saying is you can't have a nuclear weapon.
So it's very clear. Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. He says, I don't want to attack Iran. But then he's left it open. And the second thing is, he says, if it happens, they will suffer. And so he's very clear. He says, I don't want the land, industry, nothing. I just want they can't be nuclear. But he's left a lot of things vague. But that's how this whole story is. Okay. Right. Now let's go into Iran and see what the state of everything is. The Israel-Hamas conflict is on. That's on and off. Kabhi some strikes happen, some demonstrations happen, people are screaming all over the world, all that is happening. That's fine. The Houthis, they are still active and they're being hammered by everyone, but yet they come and keep firing. Today, a French, vessel has carried out attacks against the Houthis. All this is a demonstration for Iran what is in store for it, the way I look at it. And there's also some talk, which I've heard, of some kind of a multinational force, something like that, or a regional force being put together to put boots on ground to actually attack the Houthi area. After all, Yemen is in two parts. One is the Houthi-controlled area, and then the officially recognized government of Yemen. So from there, will an attack go in physically? It will change a lot of dimensions, and if that goes in, Iran is in a big problem. Hezbollah, we know, is degraded, and it's virtually out of the equation. But Iran, it's weakened. We'll talk of it a little later further. It's looking at Russia and China for political support and diplomatic support. Both are not able to give it anything at this point of time. China is busy with its trade war, tariff war, and Russia is busy with Ukraine. Okay. Economically, it's weak. It doesn't have air defense worth mentioning. It's almost completely knocked out. The Israelis knocked out when they did that whole thing, and that's what makes it weak. But Iran is a civilizational power. Remember that. And it sees nuclearization as the only option. And it will not let go of this. And that is where the things stand. But the thing is, what we need to understand, what is the implications of Iran as a nuclear power? After all, Iran has missiles which can deliver the nuclear warhead. If Iran has the nuclear warhead, it can control the Islamic world. That is not acceptable to Saudis. That's not acceptable even to Turkey. It will press its territorial claims. Which is its territorial claims? All the gas fields around Qatar. And if that goes into Iranian control, because of the virtue it gets nuclear weapons, well, a lot of things in the world will change. And then nuclear weapons give it the ability to hit US targets in the Persian Gulf. And there's a lot of US deployment in the Persian Gulf. Remember, in Qatar, the US Central Command is, positioned. And then it will pose a huge threat to Israel, and Israel is bound to react. What will be the result of all this? US presence in this area will increase because US has to protect all the Gulf sheikdoms. Then there's a billiard ball effect, snooker effect. Other countries might say, we want to have nuclear weapons, and they'll go ahead. Now, this is in addition to the militarization. And today, one of the dangers which the world is facing is excessive militarization and nuclearization. So these are the ramifications of Iran becoming a nuclear power. Look, when I say nuclear power, a weaponized nuclear power, it is already a nuclear power because it has the capability and the facility to do so. Okay, what is its formula? I've spoken of this earlier. There's a repetition. It always believed in funding and arming its non-state actors, but that's broken today, except the Houthis. It has a very good arsenal of ballistic missiles, which are the carriers for the nukes. At this point of time, it has a nuclear program which can be dialed down, rather accept all the conditions, reap economic benefits without sanctions, or it can be taken up, weaponize it fully, and then revive its fortunes. It can do both. That's the horns of the dilemma in which Iran faces. But one thing for sure, it wants to dominate the Islamic world. That we should never forget. And this is this range of the Iranian missiles. Virtually, it covers large East Europe, because India, it doesn't matter. But most interestingly, the West Asian area completely is covered by the ballistic missiles. Just imagine a ballistic missile with a nuclear warhead. If it fires 4-5 off, even if most of them are, intercepted, even one goes through, it's a catastrophe. Even if all of those 4 or 5 are intercepted and they become low air bursts, it's a catastrophe. So technically, there is a major issue to allow Iran to nuclearize and weaponize, right? And without checks in place. Why I'm saying without checks in place, Iran is a great power. Let's not have any doubts about it. But uncontrolled Iran, the way it is at this point of time, is only problem for everyone. Okay, what is the nuclear facilities it has, or rather capability it has to develop a nuclear weapon? Iran has 275 kg of uranium enriched up to 60%. Till about, say, 2 months back, this was just about 200 kg. Some people said 200, 210, 195 or so. But in the past 6 weeks or so, right, it has gone up by about 60 kg, 60%. That's quite a bit. And it has brought in a lot of centrifuges and set them up. Now, just to give you an idea, 40 kg of uranium, which is enriched up to 60%, can be enriched up to 90% for a bomb. That's the minimum required for a nuclear weapon. So as of now, if you look at this, Iran has the capability of producing about 6 to 8 bombs, 6 to 8 weapons. But officially, there's no intimation. Even IEA, International Atomic Energy Agency, has said they have not enriched. They're still at 60%. It might have, we don't know. Okay. It's now a nuclear threshold straight, and it's a screwdriver turn away from a bomb. And it has got the weapon system to deliver it. The thing is, even with 60%, it is still a nuclear weapon state. The way I look at it, even with 60% is good enough for weapon grade bomb, but it will be a dirty bomb. So that's the risk. The risk is already enhanced. It might not be the best bomb, but it will be one of a bomb which, if delivered, will cause enough issues. Okay, when you look at the nuclear facilities of Iran, these are the nuclear facilities. The one at Fordo and Natanz are important. Okay, now these are the nuclear enrichment facilities. And the one at Parchin is where there's a missile storage. That's something which you have to understand. Fordo, Natanz, and Parchin. Now, Fordo and Natanz are deep underground, right? And they are pretty heavily defended with whatever Iran has. This is Iran's last throw of the dice. So one has to understand this. Now, as far as its economy is concerned, the inflation is very high. Food prices have doubled. Its oil revenues have reduced. Most of its oil trade was with China. Now, US has targeted that. There was a lot of dark shipping and covert oil trade going on. That's under the crosshairs. Yeah, can I take the slides? We don't need anymore. Please take the slides off here. Thanks. So this is where it is today. So what is this nuclear deal about? What is US aiming? What is the background of this? No, that is something which we need to understand, because that gives you an indication whether an attack is feasible or not. Like Trump has made his thing very clear that he doesn't want to go there, but he has not ruled out going there. Similarly, Iran has some issues. We'll go over that first. Look, I'll take you back to 2010. In 2010, it came to light that Iran was developing a nuclear weapon. At that time, everyone got together, EU, US, UN, and said, no, you can't do that. For the very reasons which I've said. The reasons which I've earlier stated why Iran can't have a nuclear weapon have not changed. The West will not accept Iran having a nuclear weapon. As simple as that. Okay, never. So they put sanctions. Under these sanctions, Iran could not sell oil. $100 billion of foreign assets of Iran have been frozen in the West, like they did with Russia. I mean, this is something which people don't realize, and the economy has plunged into recession from then, and it has never recovered. Of course, you live on the hard line, radicalism, and all that, and protests in between and all. From then to now, Iran has not been stable economically, socially, or militarily. And in the interim period, Iran, of course, went out and trained its non-state actors and all, and caused a lot of mayhem. That's broken, and everyone now sees a chance to rein it in. Now, to rein it in, they want a nuclear deal. So, what is this nuclear deal all about? Right. Actually, UK, China, France, Germany, Russia, and the US signed a deal in 2015. It's called the 2015 Nuclear Deal, or it is also called the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, JCPOA, or the Iran Nuclear Deal. That prevented Iran from nuclearizing, or rather, it prevented Iran from militarizing its nuclear program. They said, okay, you have a nuclear program, but the enrichment will be capped at 3.5% or 3.6%. That's a matter. Nowhere near 20-30%. That was the deal. Why 33% with 3% is what you need 2% enrichment for power. They said 3.5, whatever reason. Right. Whatever stockpiles of uranium you have, which are enriched beyond this, they have to be transferred to Russia, as per the original deal. And then in all nuclear establishments of Iran, there were to be monitoring agencies and cameras and all that put, so that Iran doesn't fake or circumvent these conditions. And this JCPOA was to last for 15 years. That is 2015 to 2030. After that, it will expire. A new thing would be negotiated, or the hope is by then Iran will stabilize and get out of its mindset of getting into a nuclear weapon. This was the story. And this went into some kind of an operation. It had teething troubles, everything. 2018, Trump comes and he says, I'm not interested. He says, this is a bad deal. Why is it a bad deal? He says, look, fine. It doesn't address Iran's ballistic missile capability. What if tomorrow they break this deal, and enrich and weaponize? They have a ballistic missile capability that is not this thing. So he said, I'll put maximum pressure. You try anything, I'll hammer you. And he broke the deal. Now, what has happened in between is Iran kept enriching. That couldn't be stopped. They didn't weaponize, but they kept enriching. So now you're in a bad situation with Iran. They got enriched uranium on the verge of getting a bomb, right? And what you earlier monitoring and all that is gone. You are in a pickle. Everyone is in a pickle because of this. Now suddenly Trump comes back and says, let's negotiate. Biden didn't bother because I think that administration had its own priorities. They didn't bother about Iran. And now Trump says, negotiate. Okay. To negotiate, he's again gone back to his maximum pressure. What has he said? Look, next 2 months, I want a deal. He sent a letter through the Saudi king to Khamenei, the supreme leader of Iran. And he said, I want a deal. If there's no deal, I'm going to bomb you. And he says, I want full dismantlement of the program. Enrichment, weaponization, and your strategic missile program all have to go. That's his condition. Now, like I said, in the interim, Iran has installed many centrifuges. What are centrifuges? Centrifuges are, it's like a wheel, basically, which you put uranium ore into it, it will throw all the muck out and the uranium comes down. It washes the uranium and enriches the uranium. Uranium goes through various stages of enrichment. You need a lot of centrifuges for it. And they are critical parts for the whole deal. But these chaps in between have got this. Where have they got this from? They would have made it on their own. They would have got it from Russia. They could have got it from China. We don't know. Even Pakistan, or North Korea. But in the period from 2018 to now, they've got it and they've started enriching. And we all know, just like I said, they have enough uranium to make 6 to 7 bombs. Now, immediately. And maybe within a month or so, they can enrich it up to weapon grade, 90%. Once that happens, it will take about 18 months to build a nuclear weapon. But a crude bomb, the next 5-6 months. I won't be surprised if they have one already. Okay, we don't know. But these are the contours of at this point of time. Okay, what is Israel's view? Because we'll say, look, can Israel strike Iran? Israel says, bada simple. Netanyahu has said very simply, elimination of Iran's nuclear program is the only acceptable deal. And he's gone on to say, we'll go in, blow up the facilities, dismantle all equipment, you just support us, we'll do the whole thing. Why? Israel's biggest fear is Trump might accept a deal in between. Okay, you can have your uranium, plant for energy. We'll come to in between. If Trump gets into that art of the deal, and Iran is left with some capability, if not now, tomorrow, they'll do some secret enrichment. They'll get around something, and Israel will be in a problem. So they don't want this. That's why Netanyahu has been jumping up and down. I'll strike. Okay. What does he want other than that? He says that Libya, in 2003, same dismantling of nuclear capability of Libya took place when Gaddafi was alive. After that, he was killed. They took out everything. In fact, they dismantled everything. Even the sites were destroyed. That's what they want. But will Iran accept this deal? No, will not accept it. Right? Iran at this point of time, what they want to say is, they don't want the nuclear program to be dismantled. They might go in for some kind of a deal of the 2015 variety in exchange for sanctions. They're open to 2015 variety. And the second thing Iran has said is, we are ready to sign a deal. But you should give us a commitment, there's no military option. You tell us that you don't exercise military option, then we'll sign a deal. But that is not feasible. You've seen Trump saying already, I don't know. Who's the typical said? He said, I don't know whether they, at this point of time, I don't want to strike. Tomorrow, he doesn't, he himself doesn't know what he wants to do. Okay. Let's look at a few equations between Iran and US. You look, Israel-Iran equations are very clear. There's nothing to see in that. Okay. But before Iran-US equations, I'll talk of Saudi-Iran equations. Yesterday, the Saudi foreign minister went to Iran and met Khamenei. And normal talk and all. Now they're talking, thanks to that Chinese intervention, and conduit which they established, they're talking. So he's gone and spoken. He must have taken some message from USA also and said all this. he's probably telling Iran to accept the deal. Iran is naturally saying he will not accept the deal in the current condition. But the Saudis are not for Iran going nuclear. For that matter, everyone in that area. We'll come to that a little later. So that's it. Like I said, Iran-US equations are very clear. US complete interests are at stake in the Middle East if Iran goes nuclear. So this maximum pressure approach. Trump has not ruled out military action. He's given them a 2-month deadline. Right. Then he said, I will bomb you. Okay. Iran has said, I will also hit you back. We don't know whether Iran is going to hit with a nuclear weapon or not, because that's a question mark. So, okay. Iran is now very clear. We will not be a non-nuclear country. That's their state. We will be a nuclear country. We might not be weaponized, and we are not going to shelve our missile program. That means in future we might get weaponized. So far, Iran has been unwilling for direct talks. And Oman is the go-between. I think tomorrow they're going to speak in Rome. Tomorrow, day after. So we'll see how this goes. This is going to go at its own pace. Xi Jinping and Trump can keep fighting, and these fellows will keep doing this. And in Russia, things have come to a head that today the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, has said, look, we'll wait for a few more weeks. If nothing happens, we'll let Russia and Ukraine continue fighting. So a lot of chaos around. Okay. Now, we all know, right? US has stocked 𝗤𝗙𝗎𝗄 with, B-52 bombers, stealth bombers. They have the capability to hit deep, right? And 2 aircraft carriers have been moved into this area. Like I said earlier, there is some talk of some ground forces, multinational or whatever, being assembled into Yemen. A lot of transport aircraft are coming into this area. A lot of things, joint drills are happening between Israel and, USA. Now, USA has brought Afghanistan into the calculation. They brought Pakistan into the calculation. There is some talk that USA is already operating its UAVs out of some base in Pakistan. Pakistan क्या है? उसको पूंछ मोरडो कहीं भी घूमेगा वो. And there's some talk of Bagram base being opened. So all this gives you the idea that, look, something can happen. Okay. But before we go ahead, let's look at the Israel factor. Can Israel strike Iran? It can. It's got the capability to strike. It can carry out aerial strikes very easily. But to a large extent, it needs US support. It needs a US go-ahead. If you watch that video carefully, go back. He said, look, Trump has waved off the idea of Israel attacking Iran. But I don't think just because Trump has said no, that Iran might not do. If Israel senses that Iran will not listen or not come to this thing, Israel might take a unilateral action. We don't know. Israel might take a unilateral action and put USA in a corner. Alternately, USA might quietly, without telling anyone, say, you do, I will back you up. That is also, USA might use Israel to hit Iran. All these are in the mix at this point of time. So can Israel hit Iran? It can, because it took out the air defenses last time. It has complete intelligence about Iran and its facilities. Some it might not have, but I think if there's one country which has complete idea of what Israel has, there's one country which has complete idea of what Iran has, it is Israel. So one way is to take it out through that. The other way is internal sabotage. It might carry out a bit of a sabotage of those facilities which are critical in this whole story. will either achieve results which Iran wants, or rather USA or Israel want, is a question mark. I'm sorry, I'm mixing up constantly between Israel and Iran. So that's a question mark. Whether Iran can get completely decapitated of its nuclear capability is a huge question mark. But be that as it may, it won't stop Israel from doing, if it is very clear that that's the only option. Okay. Now, if that happens, and if Israel has that bomb, it might go. So that's the thing. But there are other issues in this whole story. Can I have the map back, please? Because there are larger issues, in West Asia which one has to look at. Right. See, there's a balance which is required in the Middle East. In the Middle East, the balance is between Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and Iran. If Iran has a nuclear weapon, this balance goes out. That's the first thing. And secondly, though Saudi Arabia is stable at this point of time, Iran and Turkey are not stable. Turkey, the elections are on, that fellow has jailed his opponent, and a lot of things are happening out there. So one doesn't know how much more instability will seep into this area. Okay. And then, of course, what's the role and status of Qatar? Why I've spoken of Qatar is gas rich. It's got the world's highest gas reserves. And there are some oil fields which are contentious between Iran and Qatar in the Gulf. So if Iran gets nuclear weapons, this will come into the problem. They will seek this. Already the Iranians are not happy with Qatar having those gas fields. It was because of Saudi Arabia and the US presence there that Qatar is enjoying those gas fields. So that is also a problem. And then, what is the future of Yemen? Okay, there is instability. And what about Syria? Syria is also completely unstable. So if anything happens in Iran, you will see that this whole story becomes something else. And if this something else had become something else and we don't know then the outcomes, then what will happen to the trade war between Trump and Xi Jinping? Your economy of USA will go for a toss then completely if it gets committed here in this. So there is a major issue which we have to understand. Like we say that the trade war and the tariff war, is going to destabilize the world. Today, this is very critical. We are at a very critical stage where this instability is at a very high level. And this instability and the criticality has been underlined by International Atomic Energy Agency. Because one of their members, Mr. Grossi, went to Iran. He's spoken to them and he sensed that things are not okay and gone back. Right. And then there's the issue of, this dilemma, which I keep which I've spoken. Can Iran be bombed into submission? I don't think so. That's no way out. Will Israel or US put boots on the ground? Very doubtful. Iran is a huge country. It can't be just overrun. Yeah. Will Israel suck USA into battle when trade war is raging? That's a question mark. If Israel feels it's okay, it will be done. Can a deal be negotiated? I think that's the best option. If sense prevails all around, this is where we should go. But then in these days, sense is not prevailing. And the deal between the deal between Russia and Ukraine, it's now almost 2 months since Trump came in and started the deal. Nothing has happened. The same thing will go on. In the meanwhile, if there's more delay, the day is not far when Iran might have a 90% enrichment. Because when all this is happening, the enrichment has not stopped. That's the danger. And that danger, I think Trump also senses. That's why he said 2 months. And that 2 months is going to expire very shortly. And then will the balloon be up in the air is to be seen. Okay. Now, it adds to a major complexity in that there are a lot of, nuclear weapon states already. In this, if you see, I've said Israel also, but Israel is a non-declared weapon state, nuclear weapon state. It is officially not, but everyone knows it's got about 90 warheads, right? And then what happens is, see, like I said earlier, everyone wants to remilitarize. This is the age of remilitarization. This is the age of renuclearization. If you look at it onto our West, India, USA, Israel, Pakistan, Iran, and China, all these will muck around in this area with weapons. Remember, China is not very far away from here. Okay, in this area onto our east, along the Korean Peninsula and Japan, and that area you have USA, Japan, South Korea, North Korea, Russia, and China. So you're going to see, we can take the slide off. So you're going to see a whole lot of renuclearization, and that brings its own instability. It brings instability around our borders, or rather in our periphery. It's not in our border, but in our periphery. Then we don't know how the equations between Pakistan and Iran will come out if both are nuclearized. So it's not simple. Okay, this is the way I look at it. In this, does India have a role? At this point of time, India doesn't have a role at all. Zero. I mean, India is not being given a role. So India has to seek a role. But so far, India has not sought a role. But my own view is that India has a tremendous role to play. Why? India has good equation with Iran. And we respect Iran. Iran is not a airy-gairy country. We've had a lot of relations with Iran. And we need Iran, whether it's to stabilize Afghanistan or for the north-south transit corridor, everything. We also operate a port out there, 𝗤𝗏. We don't want Iran to go into these problems, right? And if Iran sanctions are off, you get oil. You start dealing with oil, okay? So a lot of our energy issues will go off. So we want a good deal and a logical deal with Iran overall. Oman, which is now the go-between between USA and Iran, is a very good friend of ours. It's one of the most stable friends in the Middle East. They look to us for everything. And incidentally, Oman has a problem with Pakistan because half of Balochistan was with Oman, and which was taken away forcibly from Oman and given to Pakistan. That area of Gwadar, basically. So Oman is a reliable thing. Saudi and UAE are again good with us. And we have the IMEC going. Instability in this area will destabilize everything. So what role can we play? Can you do the back channel negotiation? Can you do the back channel negotiation through Russia? With China, though, it's out of question. Okay. So can you do the back channel through Russia? After next month, our Prime Minister is going to Russia. So can he talk sense into Iran? Right? So these are the things. Besides this, I don't know. I don't see anything. There's another problem is that India has been reluctant to get into this entire story for whatever reason. Right? So these are the major issues. The last question, which we start, do you think Israel will go in and attack Iran? At this point of time, no. But if the talks don't progress satisfactorily or at good pace, then Iran might have to face the thing that, look, USA might nudge Israel. You do the trick. I'll not do it. You do it and I'll back you. Or Israel itself might feel, okay, the talks are not going well, so we'll do what we have to do. बाद में देखी जाएगी. And Israel is known to do such maverick actions. Which will happen at this point of time, I really can't tell. But Will one of them happen? A good chances. Okay, that's how the whole story is. I've done with what I had to tell about this today. So we'll take some questions. Anything testing, please do put up some questions. I see a lot of people have asked questions. Yeah. Given Trump's present game plan, he is unlikely to escalate matters in the Middle East region. It would be counterproductive. How would he would prefer blackmail, back-channel talks? Your views? That's what he himself said. I don't want this, and I don't think he should get into a thing. But strange is the ways of things. We don't know who will feel how threatened and how it will take off. So that's the way I look at it. What you're saying, Akash, is logical. Yeah, next. Bharat would have an important play to role as a mediator to enable successful conclusion to the US-Iran talks. Israel would be maintained as a counterbalance. Your views? Look, that's why I said India can have a major role as a mediator, but somehow we are reluctant. We have not played this role between Russia and Ukraine. We have not played here also. Earlier also, we have not played between Israel and Palestinians, not Hamas, Palestinians. We didn't. So there is some issue in this. Everyone in the Middle East says, look, India we know is a good thing. You have a lot of equity with us. Why don't you get more involved? That's their problem. We have to do. That's my view. And this is the view not only of me, a lot of people who have been more to Middle East. I'm not that conversant with but the way people who have interacted, ambassadors and all that, they feel that it's time India steps up to the plate, but we have not. That's the hard truth. Yeah, next. From Bharat's viewpoint, if we think from a Hindu's viewpoint, should Bharat allow any Muslim nation from Red Sea to Arabian Sea to go nuclear? No second Pakistan and Middle East. Look, you don't have that capability that you whether it's your viewpoint or Hindu viewpoint or all that. Allowing and all is beyond you. Allowing and not allowing is not in your hands at all. You've not played a role there. You're not, been the enforcer role there. You're not sent your military there. You don't have those capabilities, military capabilities. If you want to allow a country to have a capability or not, you need to have greater capability. And that capability is not talk. ये नहीं कि मैं आत्मनिर्भर भारत करूंगा. That is hard capability. You need to have a good military for it. That's why I keep saying, do we have a military which is good enough to defend our territory and ensure our sovereignty? The answer is yes, every time. Do we have a military which will safeguard our interests from the Gulf of Aden to the Malacca Straits, because that's our regional interest area? We don't have. Because every country here should then fear us and say, yaar, ye to aa jayega, sir. वो हमारे पास काबिलियत नहीं है. We don't have that capability at this point of time. Yeah, next. Sir, if India becomes export-dependent nation in future, we may suffer just like how China is now. Your opinion, please. Look, Sridhar, don't worry. You will never become an export-dependent nation. The reason is very simple. Let me put it this way. Today, your industrialization and manufacturing is just about 14 to 15% of your GDP. You have to go up to 30-40% to become an export-dependent nation. One. Number two, you are a consumer nation by nature. We have a lot of headroom for increasing industrial productivity. There's no doubt about it. But for this to go up to 25-30% like China has done, will take you another 30 years. So, we shouldn't bother. By then, we don't know what geopolitics are, what other issues will come. So, let's not look that far ahead. Yeah. Next question. If India aligns with USA, how will Russia and China react to this, given that India is taking market share of Russia and China weapons and Foxconn industry? China is going to be a problem for us China will remain a problem. China are very clear that you're towards USA already. In their opinion, we have already gone away from them. But they are making an effort because they have no other choice. Okay. They want. Because for them, you are a lifeline. Really, for China, India is a lifeline today if they come through. What do you see that, they are selling things at dirt cheap rates, they've dropped a lot of things, a lot of conditions and all that is temporary. With China, you can never be sure. So I don't think we'll also be sure the way things are and the way we are striking deals with the USA. And we are on the verge, and that we'll talk tomorrow. We'll take an update on what's happening in the tariff war and what USA doing and what China is doing. That's tomorrow. So at this point of time, we are more towards USA. Whether USA is good for us in the long run, my personal view is not. We need to be Atmanirbhar and we need to be independent. We need to have strategic autonomy. Now with Russia-India relationship is important for us from many points of view. And I'm going to talk of this tomorrow with a Russian friend of mine. Okay. So, Govinda, just wait. Watch out for my video, which I'll put out by tomorrow evening, same time. I'll put it out because tomorrow morning I'm talking to him. He's an old man and he prefers daytime talking. We're going to do a video with him on India-Russia relations and the future. And let me get the view from Russia. See, it's important we get a view from Russia. And then I'll give you this answer. But my way of looking at it is, at this point of time, we need to increase our relationship with Russia so that gives us a hedge both against China and USA. And it also gives a conduit between Russia and USA for us to help them out. Okay, that's how it is. Yeah. Why is Israel shouting when it won't let the world inspect their nuclear weapon? Yeah, that's a question. I agree with you. But that's how Israel is. That's how the equation is there. Israel feels an existential threat from Iran. And Israel's strategy always has been preemptive strikes. So that's how it is. That's as simple as that. Iran's track record shows that it's a paper tiger just like China. Sure, it does launch the odd attack or missile, but ensures escalation matrix is in control. Do you see it changing track now? I don't see it. What you're saying, Shrutik, is very correct. I will not say it's a paper tiger. It has played its cards well. Okay, considering the sanctions it was under. Remember, Iran is one country which doesn't have an air force. It has never been allowed to purchase aircraft. All its air force is vintage, MiG-21 type, or before that. So, with the resources it has done what it has to do. And it's a strong power still. Okay. And it has, carried out the asymmetric hybrid warfare all over West Asia very well. I mean, expert. Till, of course, what Israel did to it. Now it's stuck. Now it's weak. But it still has that ace of nuclear weapons. It's not, it might have or might not have the nuclear weapons. It's got the ace of nuclear enrichment capability. It's playing it. So it will not change tack. There's no doubt. Yeah, next. Next question, please. Yeah. Iran has most of their nuclear facilities under mountains. They have built huge underground tunnels to protect their nuclear facilities. Do you think US bombers can penetrate? I don't know. Because I don't know the technicality of all this. That's why I said, will Iran be bombed into submission? My own view is it's unlikely. Unless there's a guarantee that Iran's nuclear weapon systems are taken out, I don't think US also will go in. And this is where Israel comes into the picture because they can do things which others can't do. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Why in one of your PowerPoint slide, you chose a world map which showed disputed territory of India, 𝗍𝗂𝗥𝗚𝗁, and look, these are maps which I take. This is nothing, because if you take such maps, you don't get the other, what shall I say, material with it. You're talking of the nuclear map. I am aware of what you're talking, because that nuclear map is, right? Yeah. Yeah, that nuclear map is what you're talking. Yeah, show that map, please. This one. Yeah, this map. I understand what you're talking completely. But this map, you shouldn't look at the territory. Yeah, please take it off. You see, these are maps which are published by interested people. The more important thing is, the weapons which are around. Yeah, please take the map off. Thank you. Okay, that's the more important thing. Yeah. How will you weigh war fatigue? How will war fatigue weigh on not just Israel, Bibi's mindset, but also the people? They surely want a respite from rockets and missiles falling on their heads. Will Bibi hold back for now? War fatigue would be there, but they don't have a choice. They don't have an option. And when they see this option of dismantling Iran's nuclear facilities, they'll go ahead. And their internal politics demand so. And the missiles falling on their heads today is very doubtful whether Iran has the capability to strike back. Iran's only option today, the way I look at it, is use this missile arsenal with a nuclear tip. That's their ace. The rest, they don't have the capability left. Yeah, next. So there's a huge internet troll farm operating out of Iran, disparaging Hindus and Hindu religion. How to reconcile with this, and why should our government still? Yeah, that's a point you'll always have. You'll always have groups who will do this. We have to take a long-term view and deal with them accordingly. Okay. And that sentiment comes out of the fact that we are getting closer. We are seen as closer to Saudis. We are seen as closer to Israel. We are seen as closer to USA. And Iran is a divided country. We don't know how Iran will go. If after all this maximum pressure, something happens within Iran and it goes for a toss, there's a revolution in Iran, then what? We don't know. So I think, we should learn to look beyond what these trawlers of Iran say. That's my view. Yeah. Next. Sir, is Bangladesh any chief on Indian or side or USA? Army chief, yeah. Look, Bangladesh army chief, no, he's playing a very smart game. At this point of time, he's not on India's side, he's not on US side and all that, but he wants to be on a side which is seen to be neutral. Otherwise, he'll go off. He'll be thrown off. And he doesn't want Bangladesh to become radical. That is very clear. Until such time, the army doesn't want Bangladesh to be radical, Bangladesh won't go radical. If tomorrow he's taken off, and then all bets are off. So we'll have to see. Bangladesh is going through a very tight time. Let's see how it goes. Yeah, next. Why Iran general public does not want any trouble within its borders, but for Maulana leadership, he's very old. Why can't sidestep and resolve this? That's the way the Maulanas function there, and that's the way radical Islam functions. That he's a supreme leader, he's got a council which he's caught, all this. So there are issues. I really can't, comment. But that's the way Iran is made up, and it has ruthlessly put on protests within. So that's the nature of the country which it has morphed. Mind you, I go back in time, I remember seeing, the time when Iran, it's not something great, but Iran girls used to go around in mini skirts. That was a fashion at that point of time, and they were so fashionable. In India, you could never dream of it at that time. But then things have changed. Yeah. Next. Yeah, I hope you don't mind a naive question. Surely, I'm genuinely curious. Why when nuclear weapons already exist in the world, Why is there such concern over Iran developing them, especially when countries like Pakistan, North Korea, and even China possess them, with some facing internal or ideological challenges as well? A very genuine question which you asked. The fact is that many of Pakistan was allowed to get nuclear capability because India got it. A part of the Cold War dynamics. The general thinking was Russia helped India acquire nuclear weapons, so Pakistan should have it to balance this area. And those days, this area was important, and Pakistan was given this know-how, and eyes were closed when that 𝗥𝗘𝗙𝗪 network functioned to get nuclear secrets out of everywhere. That Kerry Lugar bill and all that. A lot of things are there in the story. And then Pakistan went to China and got some know-how. They went to Korea also and got some know-how. And we're also talking of a time when China and USA were almost on the same side, 80s. So, but then for a long time, Pakistan had these weapons, but it was not declared. It was underground. Only after the 99 blast that it was known that Pakistan officially became a nuclear state. So in that period between 80s to 90s, about 15 years, Pakistan learned how to control itself. Okay, it learned. So certain restraint came in. Same thing for North Korea. North Korea developed everything with Chinese control. So China had apron strings over it. It's only now we don't have, and North Korea is giving problems. It's not as if North Korea doesn't give problems to everyone. It is giving problems to South Korea. It's giving problems to Japan. It's giving problems to even China at this point of time. USA also. So having had the experience of both these, I don't think there is appetite to allow Iran to have one. There's no appetite because it'll destabilize the whole equations which I said earlier. One. Number two is that if Iran is allowed to have today, tomorrow Saudi will say I want, then Turkey will say I want. All these are aspirational powers. Okay, what if Taiwan gets it? What if South Korea tomorrow says I want a nuclear weapon? Okay, so the whole story of the US nuclear umbrella, which it provides to all its allies, gets punctured. Then US loses its power on this area. And then it'll be Wild West. Kuch bhi kar lo. Keep threatening each other. So I think at some point of time, you have to control who all has. Or if Iran develops this capability, let them keep it underground for a long time. That's why that 𝗟𝗡𝗖𝗄𝗎, 𝗟𝗡𝗖𝗄𝗎 or 𝗟𝗡𝗖𝗄𝗎, or the Iran nuclear deal said, let them have some capability. 15 years you give them to they mature. And then they start realizing the capability they have or not. Otherwise, what will happen is if they have a capability and then they use it, and it's the madman theory which will come into play. So to avoid that whole story was thought of. Otherwise, the second thing is you allow that fellow to have, then suddenly someone will say he shouldn't have, and go in for a attack or something like that. Like it happened with Iraq, Gulf Wars. Though Saddam Hussein had nothing, but it started the fact whether he had or not, that ambiguity of weapons of mass destruction started Gulf War 1 and 2. So these are all outcomes which you don't want. And that is why this thing that you shouldn't allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon. What I've said might be right or wrong, but this is the way I look at it. Okay, next question. Yeah. Can Europe as an entity survive without US help and have independent foreign policy in next 3 to 5 years with respect to Ukraine, China, Middle East, Bangladesh? I don't think so. I don't think Europe at this point of time has that capability. I'll talk of it tomorrow. But Giorgia Meloni's visit to US, I think, is a very significant step. It gives the bridge between US and Europe to come to a new modus vivendi. Maybe 5 years, 6 years down the line, if Europe remilitarizes itself, it will have a position of its own. But remilitarization of Europe has its own problems. If Germany tomorrow remilitarizes, France remilitarizes, UK remilitarizes, and the other countries also remilitarize, say Italy remilitarizes, then they are themselves a threat to the EU. EU will break up. And if EU breaks up, there are other ramifications. So I think we are in for interesting times. Okay. We'll talk of it tomorrow because the way things are happening, that's what I see. And I thank you for this question. It's a very good question. A food for thought. Yeah. That's it. Okay. Sir, will India surpass the Chinese PLA in near future? We don't have to. Why? Look, there's no competition between India and Chinese PLA. As India has a huge growing population, also a growing $1 trillion economy. Can you please elaborate on this, man? We don't have to surpass the PLA. Please understand this. This is something which I keep telling everyone, and people don't understand this. We have to have enough capability with us to ensure PLA doesn't interfere with our growth. That we have. So whatever PLA wants to do anywhere else, let it do. So I don't see this as a major issue. We can protect India from Chinese designs. That we can do. Okay. Are we done or any more? Fine. Right. Thanks a lot. I hope you people have enjoyed this monologue because Mr. Sree Iyer had to go somewhere. All those of you who are watching this podcast, please subscribe to P Gurus. Also, please subscribe to Ganashot. And also endeavor to become members to both of us. Because like I said, I don't consider P Gurus as a different channel. That's why I prepared. So when Mr. Sree Iyer said, look, sir, I had to go somewhere. I said, don't worry, let it be a joint podcast. I kar lunga. Right? So whether you subscribe there or here, it's good for both. And there would be, some videos which you would like to see only on Ganashot, some in P Gurus. It gives you that flexibility. So that's why I'm saying to subscribe to both, right? And thank you. Good evening. And tomorrow we'll have an update on Ganashot on the Trump war, and then I'll touch the topic which I had to postpone because yesterday that issue of rare earths came in, and that was a very fascinating topic. I hope you found it fascinating. And for those of you who are from P Gurus, let me tell you, yesterday I spoke about rare earths in India. That video is still live. It's there. You can go to Ganashot and see about rare earths in India, how China has cornered the high rare earth element market, and how the whole story starts from Myanmar. It's a fascinating story. And I'd request, Sachin, please put that link in your description so that people can have a look at it. Yeah, right? And this is the one. You put this, and it's a fascinating story. And it teaches a lot. And it also tells you how we have not used our own resources well. So there's a lot of room in that, so have a look at it. And of course, tomorrow I'm also going to talk about fall and cantonments and all that. With this, thanks a lot to everyone. Thanks a lot, Sachin, for showing those slides so patiently. And namaskar.
𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏